Hello everyone and welcome to round 2 of the website review. This is just a very informal hangout where I'm going to review some websites. And just switch to camera only for a second here. I'm going to give this a few minutes for people to join live, and I'm going to go ahead and share this over in the Facebook group. If you're not already in the Facebook group, make sure to go to facebook.com/groups/fuelyourphotos. Search for the Fuel Your Photos Facebook group. Make sure to join there. That's where we have a lot of discussions about SEO for photographers all the time on a regular basis. But today we're doing this on YouTube. So let me go ahead and grab this link. And let's see here. So it's going to be youtube.com/fuelyourphotos/live. Should be a live link. See how it's working. Give me just a second here. I'm looking at my other screen. Okay, that looks like it's working. I'm going to go ahead and share this over in the Facebook group on the thread that I started for this. It might take me just a second here, and then we'll kind of dig into this. So if you're here now, welcome. Give me just a minute to get this set up live. Like I said, this is very informal and not meant to be a formal presentation. If you're watching later, you can go ahead and kind of skip ahead just a little bit when I get into the reviewing. But I'm scrolling over. I'm on my other screen right now, so if you're just seeing me, I'm have my monitor up here so I can get into the Facebook group. Okay, here we go. And we're live. Well, let me see if there's a specific link that I can grab for this. Don't think so. There's got to be a way. I still haven't figured out how to get this specific YouTube link other than the live link while I'm live. So I'm going to just use this for right now. Okay, so let's see if anybody's going to come on over. Still got just one viewing. That's probably me. Got my chat open here. Should be able to see that. And I'm just going to get my screens organized here. Guys, I'll be here in just a second. If you're popping in here, Allison's here. What's up, Allison? Let me just see if everything's connecting. There we go. Good to go. Allison, you're going to be up today for sure. Probably next. Let's see. Yep, your site is on my list next. So stick around for a few minutes. I'm going to go through Angela's site first. Angela, if you pop in, let me know. Hang on just a minute. I'm still kind of organizing some stuff here, getting my screens open so I can see comments, because people leave comments in multiple places whenever I do this. So I like to get it open on my other screen so that I have a way to quickly refresh the Facebook group, and I can also read the comments coming in from the live chat on YouTube. So if you're here and you're watching, even if your website's not getting reviewed today, be sure to interact, ask questions about what I'm talking about. If you haven't signed up to get your site reviewed yet, you can go to fuelyourphotos.com/reviews and put your site in there. Angela's here. Awesome. Cool. And I'm glad you're able to comment here on YouTube. That'll make it much easier for me to be able to see what you're saying. That feed comes directly in. I can see it right here on my other screen, whereas the Facebook doesn't refresh automatically. So make sure to comment here as I go through this with any clarifications that I asked for or any other things. Angela, before I get started, so scared. That's awesome. Before I get started, how do you pronounce your last name? If you can type it in like with a pronunciation, is it Navarrete or Navarrete, or I'm not sure how you say it. Let me know. be able to pronounce it if I'm mentioning it here. And then looks like, let's see, good to go. All right, cool. Which one is it? Navarrete? No. All right. Navarrete. Like roll the R. Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and she's like, that's fine. Just go with it. That's good. Don't worry about it. Not important. All right, let's go ahead and pull this up so that we can see share right monitor. There we go. All right, so if I need to, like if something's getting covered up, let me know. I'm going to try to keep my face in there as well. Not that's really that important, but just so you can see my expressions. Sometimes I talk with my hands, but if I need to move it, I will move it. So the first thing I like to do whenever I pull up a website is just try to get first impression. Now, one of the things that is important to realize is that, and it's really helpful, especially when you're here, when your site is being reviewed, to kind of look at how I interact with the site. See if there's anything that stands out to you. You can always ask about it or mention, hey, that's not what it looks like for me or whatever. And notice my screen size, how photos are cropped, all kinds of things like that. Sometimes they look different than the way that they might be looking on your monitor or the way that you're used to. So keep that in mind as you watch. All right, so first thing, like initial impression, I do like the fact that right when I hit this page, I can see that there's more to it so that I know to scroll. It's not a full screen image, even though the image is taking up a majority of the screen at the time. So this is kind of the way that I prefer it. In this case in particular, I feel like, let me hit refresh on this one time just because I had it up and I moved the screen around. I just want to see how it loads. Okay, so in this case in particular, I feel like the cropping on this image itself is not ideal, and it might be worth having something that fills this space a little bit better. It's nice to have some empty space. I like the the negative space here where there's not a whole lot of the image is not like distracting. This young woman here is off to the side. You have some text over here, but this is white text on top of a very light background. And while I can read it fine on my screen, it might be something that other people have a hard time with. Depending on the level of contrast that they can see and all kinds of stuff like that. And even this, the Forever and Timeless Keepsakes, is a little bit hard to read. And again, you're encouraging people to scroll down. This is good. So Plano, Texas photographer, great. This is, from an SEO perspective, which is definitely a big part of what I want to look at when I review websites. This is a great way to get started, to let people know exactly where you're from and what you do. And so this is a great intro, Plano, Texas photographer. Beautiful portraiture. Okay, so this is another thing that is like, it's almost like a tagline, even though it's a very, very simple one. Hang on just a second. I've got my Slack notifications on. I'm going to turn them off for a minute. Okay. And so at least we know for sure you do portrait photography just by glancing at this. Okay, so that's good. Here, you may want to play around with using this a little bit more to your advantage, because people are going to skim this and they're going to read this, and even a few more words here that kind of help you distinguish what's different about you from any other portrait photographer that someone's looking at could be really important. Okay, so I'm digging into it too much right now. I want to get my first impression. So, okay, easy. I can see the logo, see the locations. I've got contact information. I've got a navigation, and I know to scroll. So let's scroll. Okay, book today. Family, seniors, headshots, memories. Got this little parallax background thing going on here. I feel like depending on where I land on this, it's almost a little, I don't know if I really love that particular effect in this case, although it is cool. It's a great picture. I like the colors, the textures, the expression, the sharpness, all that's really good. Like if I land on the lips, I feel like it's a little awkward. Even again here kind of on the nose, it just depends on where I pause here. This is really hard for me to read. Okay, I've got one thing to note here is that I didn't see what was listed here until I hovered. So this is text hidden behind a hover state. On desktop, not a huge deal. Notice that as I was scrolling, I naturally hit one of them, so then I know to hover. That's pretty common on a desktop site. On mobile, I'll have to see in a minute how that reacts, but just know that anytime you hide something behind a hover state, it makes it less likely for people to know that it's there. Hello from Angela. Okay, I like the fact that when we get down here, we have read more about Angela, and we have a book option. We have contact information. This is really good. A really good start here. I feel like this page leaves a good impression on me. Some of the things I like the most are I like the fact that as I go down through your specialties here, I can see some quick examples. I don't need a ton of examples. I don't need a full portfolio to know like what type of family photography you do. Immediately I know that you can do extended families, small families, studio families, on location, black and white, color, you know, maybe even like special occasion family photography. I get all of that from this one little block. That's really smart that you've done it that way. Senior, same thing. Like I don't need to see a lot. I like the fact that you have at least one guy in here. I can tell you immediately one of my impressions after even just looking at a few of these images is that your work is not well represented by this first banner. You need to improve this. Like, I don't know exactly what it needs to be, but you've got better images than this one, even though there's nothing inherently wrong with this image. I might even like this image better for this spot up here. But this black and white, the black and white, it's like I kind of see how it fits the brand, but I just feel like it doesn't have the same impact. So definitely, I highly recommend thinking about changing this top image to something that's a little bit more powerful. You've got some really strong work for sure that I've already seen. I'm not saying the first one is not great. I mean, it's not good, but I would say it's not the best that you have on here. I do like the fact that you aren't taking this, like a lot of photographers that I talk to in the Facebook group especially kind of make excuses, and they say, hey, hang on just a second. Elizabeth says, I'm watching live but unable to comment because I don't have my phone. Thanks again. Okay, cool, Elizabeth. We're going to, I think your site's the third one on my list. Yep, we'll get to it in just a little bit. So again, if you're not here whenever I get to that, that's cool. We'll get to it eventually today. You can always watch again later. It's probably, I spend usually 20 to 30 minutes on each one because I just take my time and kind of talk to people as I go. It's live, it's casual. And sometimes I go faster. It just kind of depends. So we'll see. But anyway, you're going to be up today for sure. Okay, so where was I? I lost my train of thought there. Sorry. Sorry, Angela. Oh, yes. So people give me this excuse, and they talk about the fact that, hey, I do multiple kinds of photography. I do, you know, seniors and family and headshots, and I don't know how to have a landing page that lets people get into these different kinds and also still have some text on my page. And like, you've done this. You've got text here. You've got text here. Down here, you've got several sections that have text included, and I love the fact that you've done this where people can still quickly and easily find the thing that they're looking for. This is a pretty good example of a landing page for a multiple specialty studio. You might even want to expand some of these out a little bit more for search engine optimization. Like maybe there's a little more context you could add, but at the same time you don't have to. It kind of depends on how things are going. She's thinking about making the banner a slider, families in your headshot. I think that would probably be okay. Just keep in mind that as people land on the site, they're not likely to stick around for a slider. They're going to start doing something pretty much immediately. So make sure that the first image in the slider has the impact that you want. And if the text is part of the slider, make sure that the first slide has the text that you want. And one thing that I just kind of noticed subconsciously here is that I don't think I even read this. You know, even as I'm sitting here reviewing your website, talking about impact, and I saw this, I don't think I read capture their spirits. I think maybe it's because it's such a, I don't want to say meaningless, because it does mean something, but at the same time, it's not, it has nothing to do with my particular task when I come to your website. And so maybe it's like subconscious for a lot of people, but in my mind, it didn't really do anything. Again, experiment with this if you want to put something here. Same kind of thing I said here. Like this is good, but I think it's an opportunity where you could potentially improve. All right, let's kind of dig into a couple other things here. Well, first of all, one of the things I like to do is say what would be the next thing that I would do. And often I take this from the perspective of like myself, what's the most likely scenario where I would be a customer. So I typically look at the family stuff because I have a family and I do look for family photographers sometimes. What is this FIP? I'm guessing family. No? Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. Okay, interesting. I wonder why it's showing up like that instead of the icons like this. So just something that maybe you're not aware of, or if you are, I didn't know what that was, so other people may have that same issue. Honestly, I don't feel like you need these in the header. Put this in the footer and leave it there. This is just distracting up here. All right. Family portraits. So this is a common thing that I see with photographers, and I think this is Profoto. Yeah, Profoto. Especially Profoto users. I feel like I came from a homepage that was very well designed, where there was a lot of intention that went into it, and the layout was done well, and then I kind of get to this internal page, and it's like you just gave up. And I really don't want to be like brutal or mean or anything like that. Anything I say is meant to be constructive, and this is not terrible, okay? So don't take it the wrong way, but I feel like, you know, whenever I come from this, where I've got like this parallax, I've got the colored sections that, you know, I scroll, I've got these well thought out grids, I've got, you know, an interactive rollover here, I've got this is another section that's broken up, and then I kind of get into it over here. Oh, really interesting too. This internal page is not secure. It's not on HTTPS. So your home page is HTTPS. Internal page is not. Okay, so you need to have HTTPS forced across the entire domain. That's something that you can usually set up with your host. So make sure to look into that. You want it to be forced before it even gets to resolving to www in some cases. I'm not going to get into all the technical details. Just know, talk to your host, make sure that HTTPS is forced across the entire domain. You may even want to, like a simple solution might also be using a plugin like Really Simple SSL to set up the redirect if your host can't help you set it up manually. Just something to check into for sure. It's not that there's like mixed content here, it's that it's not on HTTPS at all. In fact, let's see what happens if we even go to it. Okay, so it does let us load this over HTTPS with no mixed content, so it's just not forcing the redirect. Your host can probably set that up in a matter of minutes, so just talk to them and see if they can get that set up for you. Again, so we're here, we're on this page, we came from a beautifully designed page, and then we kind of land on, I don't really like the way that the, let's just go back to, I want to make sure anytime you have a logo in the header, it should link back to your home page. So right now that's not linking there. I do have a home button here, but make sure this logo links there as well. Because I tried to click it and didn't do anything. I was just going to look at your font here. I guess it's the same. I feel like the font is a little too small in general. 13 pixels. I'd probably bump this up to 16 pixels in this case. And I think the letter spacing is probably a little too much. That's just my opinion. In this case, it really stands out. I feel like the letter spacing here is so much that it looks awkward, and especially when it's up across this huge section, which is a little bit of text, it just feels weird. That's one of those typography design issues that doesn't really have to do with SEO, but it does, you know, have an impact on user experience. Okay, so you do have this over here. I want to see what happens when you click this. All right, it goes to PayPal. All right, so here's something to think about. Now, I guess some of that's hidden by the screen, but you know what it is, Angela. So there's just a button over here that says book today. Okay, so it does say underneath where my thing is in the screen right now. You can't see it if you're watching the video, but it says session fees are due at the time of booking. Hold your date, $300 minimum order. Get in touch with Angela, and you have a phone number and an email address. Okay, so since you're here, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me how often you have someone come to your website and book the session through PayPal without ever reaching out to you. Like, out of 10 sessions who book with you, how many people do it that way? I would imagine that it happens sometimes, but I'm curious to hear what you would say is the percentage. See what happens if I go to book today. Okay, so I've got the same kind of thing. I assume it's probably going to take me to that PayPal. Let's go back home. Same thing here. Book today. Goes to here. Okay. So she says people always call first. I know, even from my experience with the Fuel Your Photos site, whenever when I have my done for you services here, if I make it so that it's available, I have some people who will just check out and like never contact me every once in a while. I probably had 3 out of 60. So what is that, like 5% or something? And it does happen, but it's very uncommon. And so whenever you have something like this where you have a call to action, you want to make the call to action the thing that people want to do anyway. If you want people to call you because that's what they're going to do no matter what, then make this a call to action for them to call you. Or if it's to fill out a form, I don't know if you have a contact form. This is typically a good way, like send them to fill out a contact form. Contact form or to call. If you tell people to book right now, like pull out your wallet and spend money, like they're not likely to do that until they've made a connection with you. In the photography world, this is pretty typical. Maybe for some headshots, especially for people who already have like a warm referral, they may look for like, I just want to go to this website and book it. And they're going to pay you and they're going to schedule it and they're good to go. But for families and seniors, I have a feeling almost everybody wants to talk to the photographer first, especially in today's world where there's so many scams, there's so many things going around. People don't want to just like go to a PayPal link and go ahead and fill that out. Just adjusting my camera a little there. They definitely want to get in touch. So in that case, make sure that you don't have the call to action to something that people aren't going to do anyway. You're just wasting space. Okay, so I do want to cover a few SEO things that are kind of, as far as like going in, I think I've already kind of said enough about the internal design. This is fine. I don't think this needs to be like anything fancy, although I do still feel like the home page is still so much more designed than any of these internal pages. I think that the space is too wide. The section here is too wide. I want to look at this on mobile real quick. I'm just going to do a simulation. I'm not going to actually pull it up on my phone. So I don't know if this gets cut off at all on a phone. It might be part of the simulation here, but that's something to think about. These images are much harder to see in this grid in this case, and this is much harder to read. I still think it's visible, especially on a bigger phone like this. But this does start to run together a little bit. This is really hard to read. I do like that I can see the photo better, but it's really, really hard to read. This looks better on the phone too, even though this might as well not be here. I would get rid of that. Make it really small, something. Like I just feel like this covers up the photo and you should have one or the other. You don't necessarily need both. This is too hard to read, just in my opinion. The hover state issue with Profoto is that they don't drop it down below the rollover on mobile by default. I don't even know if there's a way to do it. I'm sure there's a way with some CSS or some customizations, but I just don't know if there's an option to go in there and do it. I haven't checked on that recently. This is another thing that I probably would have done right off the bat. I still feel like the book today thing is probably not the best call to action, but that's totally something you need to test. This is such a, like, when you go to the about page, it's like such a really small section, and then it like goes directly into kind of links to the portfolios. This section does have like this part that you had on the home page. Interesting. I feel like what's going on here, and I see this a lot with ProPhoto 6, and maybe I'm completely off base, but I think you've probably got some sections from a ProPhoto 6 template and you've customized some things, but you haven't necessarily like made it fully your own on all of the pages, or either you didn't use the design fully on all the pages, one or the other. Trying to make it not all about you. I understand that, but at the same time, an about page is supposed to be about you. And I get people saying like, no, people are still looking for what it is about them. Okay, I get that, but it's not necessarily a place. I don't think this is a bad thing to have here. It's the next thing you want people to do. So I always tell people, if I scroll down to the bottom of your page on the home page, and I think, what's the next thing that I want? I want to know more about the photographer. Great. So I go here and I read more about the photographer. What's the next thing that I want? I want to see more pictures. So in that case, this is a good logical next step. I don't think having this here is bad. I do think that having maybe a little bit more here, like having what you have here in this section, at least on the about page, like that was a bad experience for me. Like going to the about page and then clicking to read more and getting sent back to the home page just seems like a little janky, like it's disconnected. What to expect. I feel like this has too many keywords stuffed into it. Like this, once I get to a what to expect page, I feel like this top part needs to tell me what to expect, like quickly, or what this page is going to be about. This kind of stuff is not necessarily beneficial. Maybe put this on the about page itself. Maybe put this on the contact page. If this is the one place you want to put it, that's fine. I mean, it's not like going to kill SEO. It's not like keyword stuffing to the extreme or anything, but it's also probably not exactly what I would put right at the top of this page. This looks good, except again, it feels a little under-designed compared to what I expect whenever I land on your homepage. I feel like that's a theme that's going here, and that has a lot more to do with design than SEO, so I'm not going to really get into that too much more. I'm just like hit my desk and my camera's falling. So what I do want to do is go back to, hang on, okay, while we're on that page, notice the title here is Texas Photographer Plano Dallas Sessions High School Seniors Family, but that really has nothing to do with what to expect. So this title really is, and this URL are incongruent with the purpose of this page and not going to likely help you for SEO. If they are helping you for SEO, it's because something is very uncompetitive and you're just kind of getting lucky and you want to maybe take advantage of that with a different page. Going back to the home page though, this title, let's just open up. I'm going to use Open SEO Stats here. Page info. Title, okay, portraits, family, senior, headshots, Plano photographer, phone number. No meta keywords, that's good. Meta description, Plano, Texas photographer specializing in beautiful portraits. Family portraits, senior portraits, professional headshots, studio outdoor, phone number. Right at 155 characters. I don't think this is bad. Probably has some room for improvement, but most people do. The title, on the other hand, I definitely don't want to see dashes between words without any spaces like this, because what happens is that all of this portraits, family, senior, headshots becomes a single word to Google. Okay, it's not that it's impossible for them to understand the context of this with these dashes, but this is not how Google wants you to present this. And so with your page, you may, let me see something. You may want to make the home page be optimized for Plano, Texas photographers or Plano, Texas portrait photographers, and then have like the inside pages like this, family portraits, optimized for family portraits or family photographers, Plano or something like that, and you kind of have that up there, but that's, you know, it's definitely not structured in a way that makes it clear. This is the page that I want to. I keep hitting my desk. My camera keeps moving. It's not structured in a way that's like really clear. This is what the page that I want to rank for this particular topic. Sorry guys, my camera's just sliding all over. Let's go to Google and do a search for your brand. And then let's do a site search. Notice it's still using that same title. Didn't separate it out or anything here. About headshots. A tag archive. Studio life. A blog. Second page on a blog. Just curious to see what these are that Google's pulling in. 19 5-star reviews. That's really good. Looks like you've had some posts going here. That's good. So this looks good in general. I'd love to see an address if there is one, but you know, it's one of those things that most people don't want to show these days. Let's see here. Looks like it's just a blog post. And another blog post. It's interesting that those are the two blog posts that Google has decided to pull into your site links. You usually want them to show, you know, in this case, you're probably going to want them to show family, seniors, headshots, contact, about, maybe photo booth. So how do you get rid of those? It's a little tricky. So the short answer is you have no direct control over these site links. All right. This is something that Google is going to pick on their own. However, there are some things that make it much more likely for you to be able to control these. Hang on just a minute. I'm going to come back. I'm just checking my other screen. And okay. Cool. All right. So the way that you're going to be able to control these is to make sure the things that I was mentioning a minute ago, where you have a page that is specifically optimized for a particular topic, and that topic is something that people are likely searching for, and Google knows that your site contains those things. If your home page links to a family page like this, a senior page like this, a headshot page like this, and your home page is optimized for photographers, and each of these pages are optimized for those things, and when you get onto that page, the heading is professional headshots, and in the up here it's listed as headshots. Like this is you've got some of the stuff there, but Google's just not pulling it as like, you know, this. The title is also decent. I think you may just have too many things that are kind of competing for the same keywords, and Google's not sure which ones to show. As far as getting rid of something, the only way to get Google to drop these definitively is to go into Search Console and ask them to remove the URL. Now, they'll remove it for 90 days, and if they decide to recrawl it and, you know, add it back in 90 days, they may add it as a site link. But if in the meantime they find something that's a better site link, they probably won't. The only downside is you actually are removing it from the index. If there was any benefit from that post, or if that post was getting its own search traffic, you're removing it completely from the index. So I don't usually recommend this. Maybe for the tag, you might want to remove that. But that's the only way you can like definitely influence this. You might remove this blog page 2 and this tag for sure. And then the blog posts, like, you have to decide whether you want to remove them or not. It's the only thing you can do to definitely get these out. And the other thing is just clean up your structure so that everything is consistent, and give Google like the best chance at finding the right thing, and then ask it to recrawl, and it might resolve that problem. All right, we're going to do one more thing here. So I got to keep on going to the next site. Make sure you look into that HTTPS thing. That's a big deal. Just looking to see what's indexed here. The way you're using tags here is appropriate, but it's probably something where you may be able to no index these. You don't have to. They're not necessarily hurting anything in this case. Okay, so you've already got this redirecting to the image. That's good. It just hasn't dropped it yet. PP Gallery, I recommend probably changing these. I say probably because sometimes when you do this, it will automatically update the link to the new one, but usually it doesn't. So if you change this to like portfolio or gallery or something like that, which you can do now in ProPhoto 6 and 7, in some of the newer versions, you can change this. I would recommend doing that. I also recommend if you have a gallery of senior portraits and you have it already like somewhere else, I'll say this, you've embedded this on this page, just as an example. It doesn't look like you have. But you can take this gallery and just drop it into another page, and then you can no index the PP Gallery post types. That's just another little SEO thing that I like to do with ProPhoto sites. You know, I think I really do feel like in your case, the biggest SEO thing that I would work on right off the bat is cleaning up this homepage title. And then maybe fixing some of these other session info, like whatever you decide are your cornerstone pages for these other types of photography, which is probably the session info pages, making sure that you have really solid titles and meta descriptions for those pages, and make sure that you don't have blog posts that are competing with those terms. That's what I would do here. The other things that I've mentioned, like I mentioned some design things, you got the HTTPS thing. I think there's definitely some things to do, the call to action, you know, some things to think about. But overall, your site, you've got a really good foundation, a good start here. I especially like the homepage. I think that some of your other internal pages, you could spend some time working with them to make them even better. You know, there's little things like, you know, if this were my site, I would want to remove these from the title, and I'd want to probably center these in this bar, and that's just little things, you know. Same thing on mobile, like there's little things. Fixing this image, there's all kinds of stuff like that, but I think you're definitely on the right path, and I hope this was at least somewhat helpful for you in thinking through some things. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next site. Unless you have any questions, I'll give you some time. If you have any specific questions, you can type them in while I'm pulling up the next site. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to pull up. Allison is next. ChicJ.com. So Angela, in terms of design, should you make the other pages more like the home page? I think so. I mean, I feel like if you have a consistent layout throughout the site, you kind of have these blocks that separate. I like this like yellow section with the borders, or like this section, you know, with the parallax mixed in, this kind of section with the texture in the background. You've got these on your homepage. You could totally use that same stuff and keep it consistent throughout your site. I also really like this width. You know, this is like 700 pixels or something. Let's just see. Yeah, 761. This type of width I think is appropriate for that text. This, you know, it's a little bit too wide, but this width you have here, that's probably like 800 or 900 pixels. It's kind of offset there because of the tile. ProPhoto is a little crazy with the way they do this. But yeah, you know, 800 or 900 pixels wide within a full width layout. Like you have these full width sections, and then you have these like contained 900 or 1000 pixel sections or whatever. I like that. Whenever you get into these internal pages that are like crazy wide sections that don't need to be wide, you don't have anything breaking it up. You've got like a sidebar section instead of that kind of consistent layout where you scroll. I feel like it's a completely different site. It's a little disorienting. So that's just my opinion. Again, little to do with SEO, but you know, experience and flow and getting people to convert is a part of SEO. So, all right. Let me know if you have any other questions. You can certainly ask them here, ask them in the group. I'm just going to go ahead and go to the next site while we're here. All right. So Allison, let me know. Are you still here? I know you were here in the beginning. Let me know if you're here now so I can know whether I can direct you or directly talk to you on the video. I'm going to pull up one thing while I wait to see if Allison's here really quick. Okay, she's still here. Cool. All right, Allison. So first thing, let's just take the site and get some first impressions. And Angela, by the way, don't feel like you're interrupting. If you still have other questions, feel free to type them in, and I can get to them in a little bit or whatever. Yeah, it's fine. Just in the comments there, you can leave it there or in the group anytime. So just know that it's not rude to come back in and still ask questions about your site. Other people who are watching, it's not rude to come in here and ask questions about your site that are similar to what I'm talking about. But I'm going to be focusing mostly here on Allison's site while I am doing this review. Okay, so let's dig in. Just going to take some time to take it in and get a first impression. Okay. Let's see what this does. Interesting. Uh-oh. Please check the short code. It seems to be wrong. I don't know what that was all about. I clicked a little... There was like a little arrow right here. That's what I was clicking, and it did that. I was assuming like these would let me go back and forth, even though I will tell you, most people would not have found that. I was looking hard for it. So if you did want people to be able to scroll through this, which like I guess it's going a little faster if I like click and drag, it doesn't give me any kind of haptic feedback or like whatever that I'm scrolling. It's not like giving me something that indicates that this is working, even though it does seem to work, that I can kind of like click and drag. I'm assuming in that case that you could also swipe on mobile, but these little arrows don't work. So check into that. Something with the shortcode apparently. Like I thought at first, I was like, oh, maybe this is going to take me to the next photo, and it didn't. All right, so first impression is that, and notice I'm like trying to click away, like the default behavior of any kind of pop-up or slide out or anything like that should be that if you click anywhere else, it should go away. You don't have to click like right on the X. That's just a little usability thing. My first impression is that I really like the branding. I like the green and gold. I think that's a really cool color combination. I guess it really goes well with me. I like those colors in particular. Like I've used gold in my branding before, and green is one of my favorite colors in general. So just personally, this branding really works well. I feel it's a good aesthetic. But at the same time, I also feel as I scroll through this page that everything is pretty consistent, which is really important. The fonts, I like the fonts too. A little hard to read and a little bit, maybe too many fonts as a general thought. Like, okay, so we've got 1, 2, probably a third. This could be the same, I'm not sure. This is a different font here, so that's at least 3. And we've got 4 here at least now. That may even be a different font. Poppins, Trirong, Bro. That's saying Montserrat, but that could be wrong. But maybe Montserrat. Yeah, that is Montserrat right there. So I've counted like 4 or 5 different fonts here. Usually I like to see, just a couple of fonts. But other than that, this branding is like really solid. Just don't let that get out of control. If you're in my Facebook group, you already know how I feel about Instagram feeds at the bottom of a page. When I get to the end, I don't want that to be the last thing that I see. If you want to use an Instagram feed on your homepage, put it up here somewhere. Put it here in between these sections or whatever. But always, 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 if you're sending people to Instagram, then your Instagram needs to be really engaging. It needs to be, something that you feel like people are likely to book you through your Instagram feed. If it's not that, if you do not feel like someone would go here, message you, and book you, then don't send them off your website to your Instagram. If you want to have this like consistent feed of like recent things, which by the way, this little scrolling effect is not good. I don't know exactly what's going on there, something to do with the widget you're using to show this, but you want to make sure that that's got the right height set so that it doesn't have to do that. It's probably using an iframe. Let's see here. Anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that. Which platform are we working with here? It's WordPress and Genesis. Hello Beauty is the theme. I told myself to be honest and leave it, but I definitely know how you feel about it. Okay. All right, so Angela is asking about images and SEO. I'll definitely see if I can talk about that here some in a minute. Okay. Allison, notice on this image in particular that this is really blurry, really pixelated. It's not the case on every one of these images. That one's a little, that's probably, I'm not going to get the full effect of this image without having to scroll. Like, I can't see all the details in this without having to scroll on my screen. Probably not a good image for a banner. That one's fine if that's what you're going for here. All of these, like the screen, my screen, which is a pretty default size screen, is, I'm not able to see these images. Like, the banner images are too large for me to see the whole thing without scrolling back and up and down, up and down. Okay, so that's really, in my opinion, a poor user experience. I would like to see this whole thing be smaller so that I could see. I know that makes the proportions tough because then it has to be like, short and wide, but finding the right images that can fit without me having to scroll up and down, I think could have a better impact. And you definitely want to make sure that they're not blurry on a screen size. So I'm using, this is only 1920 by 1080, so it's not like a huge screen size. Let's see how it looks on mobile though. All right, let's actually do the full, let's do the mobile simulation. I gotta refresh it to make sure it. Okay, so it is swipeable here, but notice that it changes sizes, and that I feel is also a bad experience. You want to make sure these images are a consistent height. I feel like this one's blurry on the other because it's just too small. Yep. So definitely, I feel like there's some work that needs to be done here in the banner. Okay, you've got two hamburger icons on mobile. I would absolutely get rid of this, especially on mobile. Put it in your footer, but don't make it so that people are thinking this is the main menu. I mean, I saw this one before I saw this one. If I think this is the main menu and I click here, I'm like, wait, what? Oh, but here's one. That might happen, but I would put this up here. It's probably hard to do, so I would just leave it here and get rid of this, especially on mobile, probably altogether. Flow slider on a non-flow theme. It's tricky, huh? Should you nix it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, I would rather see get rid of this top bar, use this size by default, and have maybe one really impactful image here, maybe a few. I don't know. I would be just as happy to see one image as long as I know to scroll. Again, this is taking up so much of the screen that I'm not sure if I'm supposed to scroll, and I may just go ahead and start navigating. The other thing that I found is that on your page, I do have a hard time like reading these things that are kind of all over the place. Like this over here, I'm still not even sure I can read all of it. Is it just, yeah, the latest. Okay, so that's really hard to read, especially when I'm like having to turn my head and read sideways. They're over these like, you know, this bokeh in the background is really white, and so it's kind of hard to read. So not impossible, but it's just not easy. Like if you want to make these things easy, make it so that people don't have to work to get exactly what they're looking for on your site. All right, so interesting that this is the only one with a button. So we have give me the deets, but nothing other than just like really short details. Are there more details? Can people find out more? Do they go to the experience to find out more about this? Your session. Cool. I like the button here. Perfect. Big reveal. Do you have any more information about this? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this is all you want people to do is click experience. That's fine. I just feel like with 3 sections that have like different titles, I want, you know, I thought maybe this was going to give me a place to go find more details. But probably it's all here. And you may put a button under each one that's the same thing, or you may just leave it like this as long as people are doing it. Maybe even check into your, you know, tracking your clicks. Hang on just a sec. Just a minute. Sorry guys, I've got 2 screens open here and I'm just checking on some stuff over here. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I do want to click this because I do want to know more about this. Sorry, my screen does this sometimes when I'm doing the live broadcasting and I have a bunch of tabs open. It's like there's not enough resources. That'll go away though, probably. Let's see if I can close some stuff. Close that. Close. Sorry, I'm closing some things that I have open that aren't necessary right now. Okay, see if that'll help. Hey, we got a pop-up. Sign up and get 10% off your first session. You've got a Facebook group. I don't really want that open right now because I've got all my personal Facebook stuff. You got 3 members in your Facebook group. I'm assuming that's a new thing. Okay. That's cool. Sorry, I'm not saying much right now because I'm just thinking through some stuff and looking at your site. Okay, so give me a minute just to kind of look at this. Trying to gather my thoughts. That's impossible to read on my screen. This is all really hard to read. Hey y'all. Where are you from, Allison? I don't think I Was paying attention. Houston. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you have the group and you're not paying attention to it, I'd take it off of your pop-up then. If I went to it and saw that there was only 3 people in it, I probably wouldn't join it. If you can get 50 or 60 people in there, then maybe people would join it. Okay, so I was trying to, I had a thought, and then I wasn't sure if it was like a valid thought or not, so I wanted to kind of look around your site a little bit. All thoughts are valid thoughts, okay? This is a review. It's my opinion on your website, and of course my opinion comes with experience, so maybe it's worth a little more than some opinions, but at the same time, it's always just opinion. And the things that, you know, I'm looking at here, maybe through a lens that's not the same as your target audience, may not be taking into consideration all of your business goals. There's a lot of things to think about, so just keep those in mind. But any opinion that I have, I'm going to share it with you because that's why I'm doing this. Let me answer this really quick. Angela says, do you think pop-ups in general are good? Personally, I do not use them on any of my sites. I can't even make myself come to experiment with them. I just hate pop-ups, okay? I know some people have done well with them. The main reason I don't do anything with pop-ups is because I know I'm never going to follow up. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to like actively curate an email list and send out really valuable things that keep people engaged, and I'm just wasting my time getting someone on an email list that I'm probably not going to use actively, and maybe they signed up thinking that I was going to get in touch, and then I never do, and then they don't become a client because they thought they reached out but they didn't, and that kind of thing. So in other situations where you're going to be actively, you know, sending out deals and new things like that, then you know, it could be fine. So it's up to you and your business. Test it, see what it works. If you're using it and those people that you're getting on your email list are turning into clients after a few months, keep doing it. If not, nix it. Like it's an annoying user experience that can work if you use it correctly. Angela asked also for SEO, you mentioned no dashes for titles. How about pipes or other symbols? You can use dashes. Just don't use dashes with no spaces. So if you put dashes between words, you're hyphenating the word, making it a single word. So, but a pipe will have a little bit less pixel width, and titles are calculated by pixel width in Google. So I usually use pipes instead of dashes personally. Okay, so back to Allison, my thought. Okay, when I look at this site initially and I scroll through and I look at kind of the stuff that's listed here, you talk about an experience, you talk about a session, you talk about moments. And when I go and I learn about the experience, I see like this guy in this like random jungle looking thing. I mean, obviously it's not that, but then I like see him on this waterfall. It looks fun. It's cool. But I'm like, wait, what type of photography is this? Okay, so that's the question I had when I first got here. I'm like, wait, what do you do? Like, well, portrait photography, full service boutique photographer. But I've got this guy in the jungle jumping off a waterfall. Not really. I'm being silly. And then I've got this like high-end fashion, like couture bride with trendy flowers, right? So those two things seem to have like this crazy contrast, and it makes me wonder, like, what exactly? So we got a couple here. You know, is this like a? I couldn't tell from that picture. This is a family session. It looks like. This maternity, I assume. It looks like maybe the same couple. But, you know, it doesn't tell me, like, if I were a family looking for a photographer, this website wouldn't really be appealing to me. If I were a model, maybe. You have no clue what I do because same. Okay, well, I think you and I would get along. I feel like I've been in this boat for years now. Fuel Your Photos has been one of those things for me where it's like taken me 18 months to get to a point where I could tell people what it is that I'm trying to do. I've gone through a lot of different things that haven't been exactly what I was doing, and it comes through in your marketing whenever you're like, I'm not sure exactly, I'm still figuring that out, and it's okay. Like, that is okay. It's, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you've got to figure it out, and you've got to try things to figure it out, right? So don't feel bad about that. But from a marketing perspective, from an SEO perspective, the clearer you can be, the more likely it is to resonate with the correct audience and to turn into conversions. If you're going to be optimizing for search engines, you've got to know what people are searching. And if you can't nail in, like, this is what someone's searching for, that's what I'm going to optimize for, then you're wasting your time with SEO. Pretty much there's other things, like, I mean, other parts of SEO that have to do with authority building and networking and reviews, and like these kinds of things are still valuable whether or not you're optimizing for a specific thing, because they're just the right kind of business practices to be doing. But if you can't say, hey, I want people who are looking for, it looks like you would probably do well with some personal branding or the family stuff. I don't know, like, what, I haven't seen much of the family stuff yet. Notice that whenever I clicked more portraits, it took me to this 404 because it looks like it was trying to open a specific image, not a page. So check your link there. This is a link to an image as well. This one looks like it goes to a contact page. Look at that. HTTPS has an invalid certificate on this contact page. GJ.com, which is crazy because it's working here. www, and this particular link links to the non-www. So your certificate is not covering the www subdomain, and your www is, your HTTPS redirect is happening before your www without it protecting. It's not a wild card. It's not protecting the two different domains, essentially. You definitely want to get that sorted with your host. You want your certificate to either protect both, or you want the redirect to happen first for the www. But that's a problem. If someone clicks that and it tells them they can't go to it, it's definitely, that's not a good thing. What happens if I click here? Okay, so that one worked. Just make sure, for now, link to HTTPS and with that button on the home page, and that'll help take care of that. I see your questions or your comments coming in. I'm gonna look at that in a second. I just want to stay on track here. Cloudflare for HTTPS. Either way, you want to make sure that it's protecting both versions. You just maybe get in touch with their support and show them what I just showed you. Like, if you go to contact without the HTTP or without the www like this, with the HTTPS, it's giving you a certain common name invalid. If you just show them this, they'll be able to tell you what you need to do. So you're asking about, would you say to only show a particular type until you get your life together? I don't necessarily think that's what you need to do. I will tell you, whenever I was doing photography full time and I was getting started and I tried doing newborn photography, I tried doing family photography, I tried doing in-studio portraits, I tried doing all kinds of things. I was always mainly a wedding photographer. So you're saying you switched over from Really Easy SSL and you've been encountering these errors since. My host should be able to fix this. Your host should be able to steer you in the right direction. I can't say that your host will be able to fix it for you. SSL is a tricky custom thing in some situations, and you're one of those situations, especially with Cloudflare. Get in touch with them, see what they can do. You might have to touch base with Cloudflare. If Cloudflare is just your DNS host, /CDN or whatever, you may have to touch base with your other host as well. I'm not sure if they even offer hosting. I can't remember. So whatever it is, touch base with those, and you should be able to. They should be able to help you get it resolved. If not, get back in touch. I have a service where I can do that for you if needed. Okay. As far as like, should you offer one thing? Like I was telling you, I was always mainly a wedding photographer, but I was trying all these other things. Whenever I decided, I just don't want to do any of that. I don't want to do family stuff. I don't want to do newborns. I'm not good at it. I just want to do weddings. That's what I'm good at. That's what I'm interested in. I did that, and the wedding business started to excel, and I had less stress, and there was plenty of money. It was just that it worked so well for me. However, I don't think that there's that issue again. I don't think that you have to just pick one thing. I think you have to just be clear about the things that you offer. Like, what is it? Because here I'm not even seeing options. I'm not seeing it's portraits. It's like, individual portraits, or is it weddings, or is it family? Like, I need at least some distinct, some. I think when I went to portfolio, so I have branding, family, lifestyle, maternity, wedding, elopements. I mean, this is fine. There's no reason you can't do all of these things. And when I'm here, at least I know, oh, okay, I can look at this family. And there's only two things. Like, maybe, does that take me to more? Okay, well, that's fine. Maybe fill it out even more. Oh, that's still only one image. Branding. Family, lifestyle, maternity, weddings. Okay, so you definitely need to fill this portfolio out more. I know you've got more work because I've seen it on the rest of your site. Custom artwork. Get the goods. I like the stuff that you've got going on here. Man, I feel like you're doing the right kind of stuff. I feel like maybe your website just isn't, your homepage isn't getting that message across. Like I wouldn't have known that I could hire you for, a family session or a mommy and me session or anything like that from reading this. That's all I'm saying is, like, send people to a place where they know, oh yeah, you definitely do the thing. For some reason, the rest won't show up. Well, that's not good. I wonder if it has to do with something to do with, like, the way that you're tagging them or the way this is generated. Certainly something worth looking into. What's up, Doug? Of course you're here. It wouldn't be you it wouldn't be a live feed if Doug wasn't here. There's over 30 things in there. I'm working with a developer to figure out why. Okay, yeah, definitely just keep working on that. Definitely want to see that built out here because you've got some cool stuff. It's just a matter of getting it so that I can, like, get to it. Let's see. Houston full service boutique photographer. Just thinking a little bit here about SEO. Don't you hate it whenever Google chooses, like, something that doesn't really fit in their Google My Business spot here? Okay. One thing that I will tell you about Google My Business and about consistency here is that when you're saying Chic J portrait photography here, I don't know if you say it like chic or chick, I assume, but Chic J portrait photography, here you're using the same thing, but then your logo just has photography, and you have portrait and branding photographer. Portrait photography here, you're pretty consistently using portrait photography. So just make sure like that's the official name that you use everywhere. Notice that your homepage title gets cut off. Houston Full Service Boutique. So maybe make sure that you, in this case, put your keywords before your brand. Now, anyone else who's watching and later you're going to say, I thought you told me to put my brand first on the homepage. And I did. And that's usually the case. In this case, when it's getting cut off, if you're not going to shorten it, which I would just shorten it probably, but if you are going to keep this, then you want to put your keywords first so that that's not what gets cut off. And you just have to think about this. Like, again, earlier when I was talking about how if you're going to do SEO, you have to be optimizing for something that people are actually searching for, right? And if people are not searching for full service boutique portrait photographer, which probably they're not. I mean, Houston's a big area, so you've probably got people searching for some crazy stuff. But if that's the case, then what's the good of it? As far from an SEO perspective, if no one's searching, it's not helping you, right? You can describe yourself that way on your site if you want, but in the title like that, Chic is correct. Thanks. That really helps. Sorry, I'm just picking on you. Sorry, guys, for being just silent here. Sometimes just got to soak it in and think. You know, I like this lifestyle branding elopements. Man, if you just had a few sections on your site, like one that focused on elopements, you could optimize that for Houston elopement photographer. Branding, you know, personal branding, it's kind of, there's a lot of photographers talking about it right now. I think that there's a potential for it to become something that more people are searching for. Lifestyle photography, you can take that into the business realm, and it can be lifestyle branding. It can be what do you call it? Like environmental portraits or editorial work. Like all of those types of words. You could optimize a page for that. You could have something that's a little more typical portrait, like families and maternity. Like that could be on one page, or it's just like family portraits. Family kind of can encompass maternity because that is part of family, newborn, even like anything that fits within family can all be on the same page, potentially optimized for family. So those are just some thoughts. Like I feel like right now you're just lacking focus with the SEO. Like there's not, you can't optimize it if you don't know what you're optimizing for. And I think having all the things is fine. It's just making sure that we can find them and that you are specifically talking about those things on those pages. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I'm not going to get too much more into things right now. I feel like we've talked about this for a while, and it's like your site is good. It's just a matter of right now I'm having a hard time finding exactly what I'm looking for, and I think you've also said that that's a problem that you're going through. So you say you lost your connection, trying to catch up. Go ahead, catch up. I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Italian dough, what's up? I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next site right now. Allison, when you catch up, feel free to ask more questions. I'll still try to come back to it, and I'm going to go back to Angela's question about images really quick. Angela, I'm not sure if you're still here or not. So one thing I'll always try to do is I'll go to site : and then go to the images tab and see how is Google indexing the images. So we definitely got a lot of stuff in the index. That's not a problem. As far as ranking, can you tell me more about what you mean as far as they don't show up as much as others in my area? What are you optimizing for? What are you trying to get to show up? Elizabeth, cool, you got it to work. I'm just getting ready to go to your website, so that was good timing. Angela, tell me more about like what you're trying to optimize these images for and where they're not showing up. So Plano photographer and click images. Okay. Senior pictures, family pictures. So let's just go back to that. Let's see. Okay, so here is a good example. All right. One of the things you have to understand with image optimization is that the optimization of the page containing the image itself is more important than the actual image optimization, in my opinion. Also because of some things that Google says. But in this case, Texas Senior Pictures or Senior Portraits or whatever, you know, this is a page that has a video here, C portfolio here, and like one little image here. But the page that's optimized for Texas Senior Portraits, Plano Senior Photographer, doesn't contain the images that you want to show up for, you know, let's say Plano Senior Pictures or whatever. We'll do pictures. No. So you want the page that contains the image to be optimized well for the same thing. It's taking a long time to load. So in this case, again, kind of mentioned this earlier, but if I were you, I would probably take this gallery and drop it into this Senior Portraits page with the gallery shortcode down here so that people can just scroll down and see the gallery. They don't have to go over here and click it. And then even whenever you're doing the bookings and stuff, instead of seeing portfolio going to the PP gallery, it should just go over to the seniors page that has that gallery on it. Why separate it? Might as well just keep it together. Then all of this text, all of this stuff that talks about Senior Portraits also counts towards the image optimization. Vesco says, wish I had my headphones. I will watch the video later. Awesome. Cool. Hopefully you can still comment later, Vesco, and just let me know if you have questions. I'll try to go back in and check and see if there's more comments later. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Angela, there's not like this voodoo magic that everyone thinks there is for image optimization. I mean, it's really, really simple stuff. It's make sure that your images are sized appropriately. Don't be uploading like 8 megabyte images. Keep it simple. Alt text, it just should describe the image. Like it's really just that simple. Describe what's in the image. If it's high school senior girl standing by a wall with vines, black and white studio portrait of high school senior boy, whatever, you know, high school senior looking in rearview mirror of blue, I don't even know what kind of car this is, Camaro or whatever. You know, high school senior cheerleader in her Falcons uniform, That's would be alt text. Okay, so don't overthink that. It's not super critical for you to rank for these like main terms. You don't need to get. Some people just go crazy about this. It's really not a big deal. The page that contains the image, the title of that, makes a lot of difference. Okay. Let's go ahead. And Allison, by the way, when you get to this, again, feel free to keep asking questions about your site. I don't want to just like leave it. If there's any other thoughts that you have, questions that you have, things that you're working on that you know about already that you want input about, I'd be happy to come back to that. I'll even leave this open here. I'm going to go ahead and go to Elizabeth's site now. Just a sec, guys. I'm just looking over here in my Facebook group to see if there's anything new. I think we're good. Hang on just a sec, guys. Okay, cool. All right, Elizabeth, are you still here? Can you still leave some comments? Let's pull this back up so I can see your comments. Oh yeah, so ready not for this. Doug, you said I can pick yours apart. Okay. I still want to have you on with me, Doug. Sorry, I'm getting this one late. I was supposed to do it like on Thursday, and I'm still going to try to do this once a week, and I definitely want to still get you on here, Doug, so that we can just talk. I think that'd be a fun, different kind of format. We try it out. You'd be a good one to experiment with since we've already we know each other, and I can easily get you on Skype or whatever. I'm using some new software for streaming, and I think I could pull you in as like a guest on the screen. It would be fun. So we're gonna do that. Let's try it. Let's plan on next week maybe. I'm assuming that I'm probably gonna try to do it on. Let me see if I can say for sure. I'm probably gonna try to do the 13th, 14th, or 15th. Probably the 14th. Just a guess. I may do something in between, but let's plan on it. We'll talk on Facebook and see if we can come up with a good day that we can do that, because I think that'd be fun. And I want to experiment with it, so we're gonna have to test it first before I pull you on. I'm probably gonna do Elizabeth's here today, and then I may get off after that. I don't want this to get too long. I just like these to be really casual. I just want to be able to like talk to people as we're doing this. I don't want it to be any kind of crazy. I had to stick to 15 minutes and try to do 6. I just want to like hang out and talk about websites. Again, a lot of opinions being shared. If you've been watching today, I definitely talk about the way that I feel about websites. The SEO stuff, I can give you pretty definitive, like, hey, you need to do this, or you should think about this. When it comes to like sites and layouts and designs, I feel like it's important to talk about these things, especially from someone who looks at a lot of photography websites. But again, you could have me review this, and then you could have, like Ross over at Flow Themes. He's doing website reviews over there for Flow Themes users. His opinions that he gives are going to be different than the opinions that I give, and they can totally both be right because they're opinions, right? So there are different ways to do things. There are right ways to do things. I mean, there are different right ways to do things. Hang on just a second. I'm going to get some water, and then I'll dig into Elizabeth's site here. Hampton Road. All right, Elizabeth, first impression. To see if Elizabeth responds. I know she's in the chat on the video, so it'll be interesting to see if she responds to both. All right, let's see here. Okay. Man, I feel like one of the things that I'm consistently seeing with photographers, and it makes sense, but I feel like photographers really understand brand consistency pretty well, and I feel like they do a good job of that in a lot of cases. I do come across quite a few that people are like, I don't know how. Oh, no. Well, don't put a live chat on your site if you don't know how to respond to it. That's not good. Which one is this that you're using? That is Wix Apps. This is a Wix site. Looks like it. Yeah, Wix. Cool. Yeah, look into that. If you're not going to know how to respond to it, take it off for sure. Oh yeah, so anyway, I feel like, you know, photographers kind of get this idea of like your images looking like, I think Instagram has really driven this into people's minds with your feed being consistent. And I think sometimes people, they don't take that to their websites. I do run across that still, but I think a lot of times people get that because of Instagram, because of trying to curate a feed. So when I see your images here, I feel like there's a good consistency. So with Cloud Photography, you know, it's really easy for me to quickly know that you're based in Hampton Road, Williamsburg, which I love Williamsburg, by the way. Haven't been in a while. Last time I went, let's see, I think my oldest daughter, who's 5 now, was like 1.5 or 2. So it's been a while. I need to go up there sometime. But yeah, it's easy for me to figure out, hey, what's up? You found it. Nice. All right, if it works from your phone and you know how to use it, keep it there. And I'm interested to hear, have you had clients using this? And if so, have people been filling it out and becoming clients, or are they just asking random questions? Curious to hear how that's going. It's up for me. I'm in South Carolina, so it's probably like, it's not very far. I mean, maybe 6 or 8 hours, I guess. Something like that. We usually, a lot of times we'll go up to Washington, D.C., or had a few weddings in Virginia a few years ago, and that's one of the times that we went to Williamsburg. I had a vacation that was like staying in Williamsburg and their like resort or like whatever they call it. That was fun too. Okay, back to the review. Let's look at this. Okay, you've had people message you through the site, but no chat. Don't have a lot of people on here yet. Okay. So one thing I will say is like, first thing is whenever I'm looking at this on desktop, I feel like it's designed for mobile, and that is not a bad thing in this day. I mean, a lot of people do mobile first design, but at the same time, you do want to take advantage of desktop if possible. So one of the things you might even be able to do here, I'm not exactly sure. So with Wix, you will have more limitations than you'll have on other platforms in a lot of these situations, where you may not be able to make these sit, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7, but and maybe the reason you did it is because you had an uneven number or something. But I'm just saying, I would like to see these stacked probably. I do feel like it's hard to read the text on top of these images. That's a very, very common issue that I'm coming across in pretty much every one of these reviews, is that these sites are hard to read. And you want to make sure that your stuff's easy to read. Again, if you've been in my group for any amount of time, you know that I'm not a big fan of Instagram at the bottom. It's just, no, it's cool. This is cool that it keeps you on the site. I will say that. That's something cool that Wix is doing that no one else is doing. And if I close this, I'm still on the site. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that before. So that's fun. in that case, as long as it's not distracting people and taking them away, I mean, it's still, you know, I'm interested to see, like, what if I click, it won't even let me. Okay, so this won't even let me get away from this. So in that case, it's probably fine. I feel like it's probably too big, like compared to the other things that are on your site. This is too big for a widget that doesn't let me interact with it. What are you saying all snap about? Show more. Let's see what that's all about. Is that going to show more Instagram stuff? Okay. Yeah, this is like, you know, might as well be your portfolio, which is fine. Like if it's pulling it in as a portfolio, that's kind of cool. Okay, I can open it in a different window. That's weird. It opens it in like this little tiny window. You kind of liked it. It is. That's a cool way to integrate it. I've never seen that before. Just be very intentional about it and understand how people are using it, and make sure that you know that it's actually making people continue to kind of move forward, move down the path of conversion, move into becoming a client. If it's at all distracting, you want to find a way to put it somewhere else. Again, I get to the bottom here. I don't have a way to do anything else on your site. So what is the next step? After I've looked at this, I want to probably go to one of these things, right? But at the bottom, I would love to see at least some other, maybe a footer navigation that's even similar to this top navigation, just so that I can click it easily instead of having to scroll up and down. All right, so the next thing I would probably do, I always like to see the experience pages and see what people have to say about the experience. Full service, fine art studio, maternity, newborn, family portraiture. I would put this on the home page. Like this is the kind of thing you want people to know right off the bat. Don't even make them go somewhere else to find it. I like this size slider better than the one you have on your home page. Design consultation. So this is a really good place for a call to action, like set up your consultation. Okay, you've got the average spend. That's good. Somewhere on this page for sure, but even like right after this, having a button that's like book a consultation would be a really smart move. Because like right now, if I'm like, oh, this sounds awesome, I don't know where to go next. I guess I'll probably just go to your contact page. But I look up here, I always look for it at the far right, and it's here. But it took me a second because I'm like, wait, is there no contact button? But there it is. Your lead photographer, Elizabeth. You have multiple photographers? Doesn't drink coffee, but an orange juice addict. I like the fact that you have the testimonials here under the form. I feel like the about section above the form might be just a little too much. Like if I land on the page and I can't see the form, I feel like it could be hindering to people actually filling it out. I almost rather see a separate about page for that, but that's kind of one of those, like it could be either way. It's not necessarily wrong, just another thing to think about. But it sounded cool, didn't it? Yeah. I like the way this is laid out. This looks nice, but again, it's one of those things where, let's say that you want this page to rank for Hampton Road family photographer or Williamsburg family photographer or whatever it is. Having the heading say fine art portraits and having the title not that, I mean, it says family photos, but like there's no text here. There's no context. If I put maybe not that. Let's see what we have here. You know, one thing to consider is potentially taking this information and putting it on that family gallery. This is one of the things that I recommend most often to photographers when it comes to SEO and site structure is, instead of having portfolio or you have portrait headshots commercials, and then you have services with portrait headshot commercials. Why don't you just make it so that the top part up here, the main navigation, has portraits headshots commercial, and then when you click on that, it has the portfolio and it has the information. Why can't it have both? Like, why don't I just get all of the information that I need right there on the one page that's about family photography or portrait photography or headshot photography or whatever it is? Then that page becomes the page. Now, this is good that you have some stuff here. That becomes the page that you want Google to show whenever someone types it in. So now you're getting somewhere. Williamsburg, Virginia, headshot photographer, professional headshots, and some text. And you have the images with a little bit. This is really good, like giving examples of the types of headshots. All right, so this page, what you're doing here is right on point. And having that pricing information on this headshot page for the headshots would be even better. Okay, so then later, take these, like musician headshots. This is something that you could make a separate page or post, most likely a blog post. Let's just see what we got here. Strawberry picking on Mother's Day. There's no mañana. Just reading some of your titles here. Okay, so let's just say, for example, that you have a headshot session that is a musician. Well, then make a blog post and make the blog post be targeting specifically musician headshots and give examples of that there, and then link this to that blog post. And then on that blog post, link back to this page with anchor text that says Williamsburg headshot photographer. And then do the same thing for authors, whatever, actors, anything else. LinkedIn, you know, you could have a whole blog post or page about LinkedIn. And then this page ranks, you know, you're optimizing for headshots in general, and then you have these other headshot pages that are optimized for the specific types of headshot photography. That is a really good example of a content silo. So you have a cornerstone content like this page that's optimizing for headshots, and you have separate cornerstones for all of these other specific types of headshots, and then all together, the way that they link to each other and support each other and build out the information around an entire topic, we call that a silo. A silo is like, you know, you don't have your grains mixed, you have them separated into the silo for that particular type of grain. But yeah, I really like what you've done here. Yeah, build this out a little bit more, and then maybe make this a little more like that. I think you'd really be onto something. There's Doug over there. Hashtag silo life. You know about silos. We've been talking about that for a long time. Custom artwork. For those of you who don't know, Doug is a friend of mine. He's a moderator in the Fuel Your Photos group, and we've been talking back and forth about SEO for probably, what has it been, like a year and a half now, Doug? So anytime Doug has SEO things to talk about, usually it's not like asking questions, although it started that way. It's turned into more of like celebrations of wins, and Doug's, you know, always like, hey, I just got featured again, and hey, I'm experimenting this new thing and with this new thing and whatever. So it's really fun hanging out with Doug. And that's why I was saying earlier, we're gonna have him on a call sometime. Okay. Just want to look at your blog again here. Okay, so one thing I was talking with a client about earlier is that one thing that people really don't take advantage of often is the fact that these mini session posts can be they can be reused every year. So right now, you know, it's there here, and you're announcing some dates or whatever. You know, you've got 2018, but next year when it's time for Easter, refresh this post instead of making a new one, and, you know, change the dates. In fact, even maybe go ahead and take them out for now so that Google doesn't like get confused. You know, change the dates and refresh this for next year. Just a little mini tip for mini sessions. But yeah, I mean, that's a good title, a good long tail keyword that people actually may search for. This looks like it's probably too long, this title. Notice how long that is. 142 characters. Typically you have like 55 to 65, maybe 70 characters before a title gets truncated. Yep, so Elizabeth saying, yes, I have a tree farm session post and it was huge, so much traffic. And again, do not make a new one this coming year. In September, when people start searching for that stuff, you know, make sure that you refresh that post, bring it up to date, and maybe even add some new stuff. What I like to tell people is, after a mini, I need to do like a whole video about this, because there's like a huge opportunity in SEO and people aren't taking advantage of this. After the mini session, blog about the mini sessions, take like 1 or 2 posts from each little mini session, and 1 or 2 photos from each of those, and then put it in your post. And you know, you have like 30 or 40 images or whatever, and you say 2018 mini session, Easter mini recap or something like that. And then you know, you're not really trying to optimize for mini sessions there, but you're just trying to like put something up. You show them, then on that main post that you want to rank, you put a link to that so that you can be like, here's what we did last year. So next year this becomes even stronger. The next year after that, you've got 2 recaps, and you can show people, here's what we've been doing for 2 years now. And it's like one of those things that's hard to think ahead about whenever you're not sure if you're even going to be doing this in 3 years, but those years go by faster than you think. So definitely worth taking advantage of those things. Like this. This is nice. Okay, when I'm clicking this, nothing is happening, although this is moving. Okay, so there's only 1 image. So maybe take this out of a slider and just put it as an image, if that's possible. It might not be because of this. Yeah. Maybe just leave it like that, or hide the controls if that's possible. I don't know what the customization options are going to be on that, but this is nice. Looks good. In this title, one thing you can do here is to keep these titles in title case. Okay, so let me just pull it up here so I can actually show you. So the title here being custom heirloom artwork created from your beautiful portraits. So this part right here is in sentence case. It needs to be in title case. You're already at the limit here, but you might even make this say custom heirloom artwork, and then maybe you have some location term in here. Maybe not. I'm not 100% sure like how you want to handle that. This is not a bad title. Just make sure you keep it in the right case. Not a huge deal in this particular example, but it's a good habit to get in so that you're always using the right case. Grammar does matter because, oh, look here, no space typo. Grammar and typos and things like that are a big deal in titles and meta descriptions. Allison and Angela, coming back to that here in just a minute. But Elizabeth, the reason I'm saying this, and everybody else, this is a good tip for anyone here. Think about it like this. If I go and I search for something like this. Here's the thing. For Google, this is their product. Okay? This set of results is Google's product. And the better the results that they show, the better their product, right? And whenever they have to decide whether they should show something that's grammatically correct or something that's not, what do you think they're going to do? This is their product. It becomes theirs. Whenever they show bad grammar, whenever they show incorrect title case, it's their fault. It's their thing that they're showing. All right. So whenever you have bad grammar in your titles and meta descriptions, it looks bad on Google and they're less likely to show it. You know, you will find that they still do it sometimes, but I'm just putting this out there as a point so you can understand why it matters, and always think about that. Here, one quick note for you, Elizabeth. On your home page, the way you have this double pipe, It's not necessarily bad, although this is really pushing the length limit. Let's just look and see. Okay, so you're still within the limit here. Just make sure you put a space here. Same kind of thing I was telling Angela earlier. It's not that you can't use these characters, but anytime there's no space, it becomes part of the word. So photography, pipe is a word. Now, what I actually saw a hangout one time where the Google engineers were talking about how they handle this, and they said specifically that they see it as like a synonym for photography. They don't see it as photography and then some extra characters that accidentally got added on. They see it as it probably means the same thing as photography, but maybe it means photography. Maybe there's some extra meaning that they don't know or whatever. Portrait. Look at that. Doug to the rescue. Portrait is misspelled. Okay. Again, super important to whenever it's that big of a deal. Put a space here, get the spelling correct, do a spell check on your stuff, grammar check, use Grammarly, whatever, when you're writing it, that could be helpful. As far as, the actual way that you have this written, I'm going to tell you that it's not ideal. As far as like really actually writing titles and metas, it's a service that we offer for our clients, and it's hard for me to do it in a live review because we have to put some thought into it. We have to do the research. We got to look at your keyword research. We've got to play around with it and see kind of what fits and all that kind of stuff. It takes a little while to get it right. There's an art to it. But in general, again, are people searching for boutique portrait photographer or portrait photography? Probably not. I would put Elizabeth Collado and then put maybe Williamsburg, Virginia portrait photographer in Williamsburg, Virginia, something like that is probably good enough. You've got the extra space for boutique, but group the things together. So boutique portrait photographer in Williamsburg, Virginia might be a better way to phrase this instead of breaking it all up like this. Whenever these things are separated in the title, they contribute less topical relevance to each other. Okay, so Google still parses it and understands, but the strength or the confidence of this meaning the same thing is increased whenever you put that together. Okay. And by the way, if you just fixed it, then you may want to go into Search Console and ask Google to recrawl it. So they'll index that fix quickly. It'll just take them a few minutes usually if you request them to recrawl. Okay. Let me know what other questions you have, Elizabeth. Just going to do a site search here. I think I already did that. One of the things I do like about Wix is that typically these are very clean. Get something crazy showing up here. Full screen page. Probably not a big deal. Don't forget to update this for next year. Personal branding. Get that going. Should you have more content on your actual home page or just add more pages? So this is a really good question, and there's who is it that asked in my group? I'm not going to be able to find it. I know who it is. I just can't think of it. Somebody was asking something kind of like this not that long ago. And it's a really tricky topic. It gets really crazy to try to figure this out, and it's different in every scenario. But what I will tell you is that if you have a less competitive topic, let's say, for example, headshot photographers in Williamsburg, it's not really going to be that competitive, okay? So what you have here on this headshots page, let's look and see. I'll probably just add your brand to that title. It's not going to hurt anything. So you're ranking for this already. It looks like you're maybe on page 4 or 5. I don't know exactly. I got mine set to 100 results. So there's a few strong competitors here. But honestly, it's still not going to be a huge, like, notice that the second result is /headshots.htm. You've got Williamsburg VA /headshot photographers. You've got blog /Williamsburg headshots. You've got all these like internal pages. Whenever you're trying to decide whether a home page or an internal page is going to rank for a particular keyword, one of the best things you can do is just go do a search for the thing that you want to rank for and find out whether Google is currently showing any internal pages. An internal page just means not a home page, right, in this particular case. And the answer here is yes, you can absolutely, because look, the second result is an internal page. All right, so the internal page for headshots is probably going to do fine. That being said, if we were to change this to, let's say, newborn, which is a much higher volume keyword in general, newborn, than headshots. I don't know about this particular phrasing. You're going to see that the majority of the results, now this one's a session pricing. We got home, 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 home. That's a blog post. Home, home, home. Yelp search, home. You got more internal pages here than you'll see on a lot of different ones. A maternity page, you know, this is telling me there's probably not much it's not much competition for this particular keyword either. Whereas like, you know, let's say Houston, extremely competitive newborn market. You know, you're going to see here that it's going to be, other than the directories, you're going to have home pages, home page, home page, home page, home page. All of these are going to be home pages. And there's a couple of things to think about here. I mean, if Google is trying to determine who are the most qualified results for newborn photographers in this particular area, and you've got site A that has, you know, the newborn is their main focus of their homepage. It's got it in the title. It's got lots of information about newborn on the homepage itself, where it just looks like that's all they do. You've got site B that does photography, and newborn just happens to be one of the parts of photography that they do. Which of these two do you think is more likely to rank better? Like, which one should Google determine is a better authority about newborn? Probably the one where the homepage is focused on newborn. That's part of it. Another part of it has to do with the actual domain authority and page authority, where the home page typically gets the most links from on a photography website. There's other aspects that are involved, but just know that there are certain terms where your home page is much more likely to rank than any internal page. If it's a competitive term and you find that it's more likely that your home page is going to rank, and you really want to rank for that, and it's the most important thing, then you should probably add more text to your homepage that makes it relevant to that particular term. It's as simple as that. Even though it's complicated, that's the best way I can explain it. So headshots, you know, you've got some information there, maybe even add a little bit more on the headshots page, but don't like add a whole bunch more pages. I don't think you need to do that. I think that just, should you put any more text on your homepage? Maybe. I really think you need to put something like this somewhere on your homepage, because I just felt like it was really straightforward. I feel like you need something else here besides this Instagram thing, something down here that gives people something to do next. But that's about it. I don't feel like you have to go too crazy. It depends on what exactly you want your homepage to rank for, or what exactly your homepage is ranking for. Again, it's hard to know without doing keyword research and digging in. Let me go back here, and Angela asked if I looked at her blog. I'll just pull it up real quick, since you hung out for so long today. All right, so I'm just going to give you a resource, and maybe you've already seen it before, but I can tell you that it will be valuable. It's this blog post on the Fuel Your Photos blog. how to write creative blog post titles. It's a long post. Make sure you get to the end. Look at the resources. Got some good resources in here. And once you read this and look at these resources, I think you'll understand a little bit better about what to do with those titles. The ones you have now are not terrible, but they may be competing with themselves and some of the other pages on your site. So definitely read this post. It should help you to understand that a little bit better if you haven't read this already. If you have, go back and read it again after we've had this talk. Maybe that'll be helpful for you. And then Allison, you suggested particular pages to drive home what I'm doing. Sounds great, but my site doesn't have a lack of pages. Would you suggest replacing some in the navigation or adding pages that are only accessible from another page? Would the latter be able to have great SEO? Allison, if you're still here, and you said never mind, but if you're still here, then yeah, what I was saying is not necessarily that your site's not ranking because you don't have pages. Like, it's not just a matter of adding more pages. It's about adding pages that make sure that people understand what's on the page. Like a page that is specifically for the thing that the person is looking for. As far as having it in the navigation versus having it so you can only get to it from another page, is it possible for someone to get, for it to have good SEO? Sure, it's possible. It's much more likely if it's in your main navigation and Google determines that it's an important page and it's fewer clicks away from your home page. All of these things play into whether or not it's going to rank well, whether it's going to derive authority from your homepage directly, these kinds of things. So it's not like I can just say, yes, it's absolutely fine. At the same time, it is fine. Like, if that's what you want to try first, go ahead and try it. Like, try to set up one for maternity sessions where all it talks about is maternity, and don't link it from your main navigation, and just see if it starts ranking better for maternity. Again, in Houston, that's going to be a really competitive market because newborn is so competitive. The maternity kind of follows. So you're probably not going to have a lot of luck with a page that's an internal page that's not your main navigation, unless you've got some like really good links or something. But still, it doesn't mean you shouldn't make it for the client, for someone who's actually coming to the site and saying, oh, this looks good, I want more, I want to see more like this. Maybe your portfolio, if you figure that out, is sufficient. But from a search perspective, like if branding is the thing that you do, you probably even want to get more specific. In Houston, is such a huge metro that you could probably do branding for one specific market and do it well, and maybe even still get some search volume. Houston is so cutthroat. I know for sure. I've got some clients there. I understand. It's a very cutthroat market in pretty much all types of photography. I happen to know most about the newborn market, but weddings too. They're both very cutthroat. I don't know what the branding, lifestyle, business, business branding, personal branding, I don't know what that scene is like. I don't know. Like I said, I have a friend who's in Houston who's doing well with corporate events. Maybe there's some way to kind of tie some of that stuff into branding. I don't know. It's hard to say for sure without doing the research. But I do feel like if I were in Houston and if I were looking for someone to work with me on branding photography, I want to see a page that's about branding photography. I want to see the stuff that you can do, the variety of work that you've done. Like if I see this on branding, for example, and I know you said this isn't working correctly, but just as an example, like I have no idea what this has to do with branding, right? So what's the brand here? It being able to show how you as a photographer add to the brand and how you work with agencies or how you work with whatever. You already have a branding page, but it's trash. Yeah, I mean, pull that out and see what you can build out of it. And again, like I'm saying here, you've got to think about like what is the person looking for who's going to find that page, and how can you present that information in a way that whenever they land on it, they feel that you are the right photographer for them. That's the question. Because right now I just felt like when I'm on your page, I just don't know. Like if I'm the guy in this experience page, the one who's in the jungle, as I called it earlier, like this looks awesome to me. I want these pictures. I want to do this. But if I land on their homepage, I would never get that far, right? I would have left before I ever thought, oh, this is the photographer who would go take waterfall pictures with me. I would have never gotten there. And maybe you don't really want to do many waterfall pictures. I don't know. If not, then you probably want to take it off of your experience page. But, you know, the point is, that's what I'm saying, is like, don't alienate people before they can get to the thing that you're looking for, if that makes any sense. And make sure that when they get there, they feel confident that you're the right person for them. From an SEO perspective, I mean, I feel like it's tough without having a specific focus. So in that case, like, if you can start to focus in on one thing for SEO, maybe think about that. Like, do you want to have one of these be stronger than the other? Maybe make that on your homepage, or maybe feature it on your homepage so that when they're here, at least they've got like that one thing that you want to be stronger than the other is like in one of these sections, or in this section, or somewhere here where people can easily get to it. This isn't loading, by the way. If it's supposed to load, I think it's probably supposed to be something. It takes them over to the About page. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this. It's been about 2 hours, and I'm standing, and I need to go sit down. I need to eat some lunch. I haven't had lunch yet, and it's 3 o'clock. So I'm going to go get some lunch, and I plan to do this again. For those of you who have already had your site reviewed, feel free to pop into the Facebook group anytime and ask questions or post what you've done or whatever. I'd love to keep up with you and see how things are going. For those of you who haven't had your site reviewed, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to probably do another one. I may do another one later this week, but definitely next week I'll have one coming up. And for those of you now or people tuning in later who are watching the replay, I did want to pull up my Done For You Services page as well as the review page. So like, if you go to feelerphotos.com/reviews, you can fill this out and you'll get on the list. Right now we have like 160 to go through, and I'm only probably going to get through like 3 a week, and I've got like 15 on my short list of people who have left a tip or something to kind of get them to the front of the list. But still, get on this, because I'm still happy to review your site at some point when I get to it in the future. I'm probably going to do some like rapid fire, like fast reviews at some point, where I try to spend 5 minutes and get my impression out. Like, I may do something like that because I need to get through some of those. If you want more information, though, like you're actually interested in being a client, then you can do one of two things. One, go on this page, and at the bottom you can email me, like send me a message. I think that's in the main navigation here too on Feel Your Photos. Maybe not. I need to put it there probably. But I have one package available right now, and this is kind of a package that we have determined to be kind of the most important things that you can do to get started with SEO. A lot of the stuff that I talk about in these reviews, like if you want me to go really deep on your site and put it all in a dashboard so that you can see, I do a full audit. We actually manually check the things. It's not like some website audit where you like put your URL in and it like comes back with this crap that doesn't really mean anything. This is like, we really check and tell you what needs to be fixed and give you suggestions and all that kind of stuff. We actually do keyword research. So sometimes you'll see like in these reviews, I'm like, well, it just depends on the research and all this stuff. And so this is one of the things we can do for you. Google Analytics and Search Console set up so we have access to it, and we can help you make decisions based on tracking and show you how to use this stuff. We don't necessarily like get really deep into how to use it into this package, but we set it up so that at some point you'll know exactly what you've got, and you know that it's tracking correctly. Titles and meta descriptions, we write those for you for up to 15 of your main pages. So like these things I was saying earlier where it's an art and people need that done for them, it's one of the most important SEO factors, and absolutely worth having someone do this part for you. Like a lot of the things I feel like people need to learn how to do themselves. This is one of those things. It makes sense to hire a professional to do titles and meta descriptions the right way. A video recap, we kind of tell you what we found in the audit and how to use it. There's also a backlink suggestion worksheet. I skipped that. Training videos to help you understand SEO. I'm working on this right now. I'm building out a really cool library with like a bunch of stuff. Every topic in our audit is getting its own video. I've gotten through about 19 videos so far, and I've got like 100 to go. So definitely a lot of cool stuff coming there. And then we do a one-on-one Skype call where we go over everything, anything that you want. We start fixing things if you want. So that's really kind of cool. I've got some other stuff coming in the future where there are, you can add, we're kind of working on this like credit system where you basically get content and service credits and then strategy sessions. And those right now I don't have any availability because of current clients, but this Phoenix package is open. If you want that, you can always go check out with it, or you can fill out this waiting list for whenever we have more full service. And we're gonna have some custom things available as well. These won't be the only 2 options. I just kind of threw this up as something so people can get an idea of what might be included for certain prices. But the Phoenix is live now. Again, this is for anyone watching this video as a replay or whatever who wants custom, if you want services now, the reviews are great and they start to dig in, they give you some ideas. We talk a lot about kind of general stuff in these reviews, but the SEO services, we dig in more on the SEO side of things specifically and give you a lot of really specific things. But again, go get on the list for the website reviews. Just know that this is not a good way to get like SEO information from me. If you might want to be a client, then you would want to go to the services page. Just letting everyone know about that. Cool. Well, thanks for watching. Anyone who has been here hanging out, thanks for hanging out. It was fun doing these reviews, and hang out in the group anytime. Ask any questions you want, and hopefully come around next time. Again, even if your site's not being reviewed next time, come around and ask questions, follow-up questions. I love to hang out. All right. Talk to y'all later.